Gutlaskian Corla. Tánaiste fetal anticonvulsant syndrome is a condition that affects children born to women who were prescribed the anti-epileptic drug Epilim during pregnancy. Children exposed to this drug in the womb have a higher chance of genetic malformations compared to the general population. An additional 40% of children exposed to Epilim experience developmental delays and have 3 to 5 times greater risk of developing autism and ADHD. In comments made at Epilepsies Ireland National Conference, a neurologist described the impact of Epilim as much worse than thalidomide and much more widespread. Indeed, we know following a statement by the then Minister for Health, Simon Harris, in 2019, that between 153 and 341 children born in Ireland will have experienced a major genetic malformation due to the unnecessary and avoidable exposure to Epilim. The HSC also estimates that 1,250 families have been impacted since the 1970s here in Ireland. Progress on identifying how this could have happened seemed to be taking place when, in November 2020, Minister Donnelly issued a statement in which he committed to prioritising an independent inquiry. This followed a meeting with Epilepsy Ireland and the Organisation for Anti-Convulsant Syndrome Ireland. However, it was only last week that the draft terms of reference were drawn up with no indication as to whether the format of the inquiry will be non-statutory or statutory. If non-statutory, the parents, women and children want to know why and deserve to know why, especially given the public interest and the potential recommendations which could be made to help prevent an issue like this from happening again to future medications. These families have already been through enough, I think we can agree on that, and they must see meaningful action taken from an inquiry, not just a report on a shelf. Tánaiste, these families need to know what services are being put in place to help them. Can you outline exactly what services these families can avail of? And will you commit to doing everything possible to assisting these families who need urgent and immediate assistance beyond the promised inquiry and beyond a report on a shelf?
Thanks very much, Deputy. I know this is a very important issue. It affects some of my constituents and some of yours, and I have read up on it, but I haven't had an up-to-date briefing in quite some time, so I'm reluctant to answer your questions in full for fear of giving you misinformation, but I will ensure that my office is in touch with Minister Donnelly today and see if we can get you a more detailed reply in writing. Certainly, in terms of the format of the inquiry, there are advantages and disadvantages to the statutory and non-statutory approach, as you know. The Scally report, for example, was non-statutory, but was done quickly and I think was done very well. A statutory one would take a lot longer, but would have the advantages of particular powers of compellability and then being able to make particular findings that couldn't be made by a non-statutory one. But I'm not sure what the Minister decided in that regard. And also, I hear the question that you've asked in relation to the services being made available to these patients. And again, I'll be in touch with Minister for Health about that and make sure that you get a detailed note on it.
Tánaiste, I thank you for your constructive response there and your commitment to seek further information, which I'm sure the families will appreciate. But I do want to point out that Minister Donnelly did commit to convening a stakeholder group to see what can be done, and certainly to stamp out the risks associated with Epilim. And really, it is vital that this stakeholder group be established immediately, because this is something that could run alongside an inquiry. Now, in addition to that, back in 2018, the recruitment of 4 epilepsy nurses was committed to, and I think that would also be very helpful, particularly for the purpose of the implementation of the pregnancy programme. So if we had that recruitment also, these measures will go some way to ensuring that no family will be affected by Epilim in the future. But I also want to point out that it is very concerning that there is approximately 1,600 women taking this drug in Ireland, Yet an Epilepsy Ireland survey in 2020 found that 1 in 6 women are still unaware that the drug can, in some cases, cause serious birth defects and learning and developmental problems in children. And this does highlight an urgent need to get this matter moving, and an urgent need also to support so many of those that are affected by this drug.
Thanks. Thanks, Deputy. I think we'll all acknowledge that Epilum is a very effective medicine in controlling epilepsy. But of course, if anyone is pregnant, they do need to be made aware of any risks when it comes to any medicine that they may take, and what risks may affect their child. But it is always a difficulty when you're treating pregnant patients, pregnant women, is that the medicines they often need to control their condition can potentially have a negative impact on the child they're carrying, and that makes it a difficult call to make. But it's really important that that decision is not just made by the doctor, that the patient is fully informed as to what the risks and benefits are in continuing with the medicine and what the alternatives are, and that should happen if it's not. I'll come back to you on the issue around the recruitment of staff and the stakeholder group, and certainly it is the case that you could have a stakeholder group at the same time as an inquiry. It's not that one would prevent the other.